I go off legal documentation, and this is not legal.
Well,
you can bring me the legal documentation, and I'll sign that. It's not a legal form. There's not.
Understood.
This is page 1 of 4.
Understood.
If I had 2, 3, and 4, I'd sign that.
I know a lot of people have beef with the experts, but one thing I have to give the experts this season is they've really been hands-on. They've had countless. It's almost every episode you're seeing an expert there sitting down with the couples, trying to give them the tools to make these relationships successful. So I have to give them credit for that. And then this man, Ikechi, why are we still entertaining him? Why don't we send him home? We've had enough of his nonsense. We can't continue to sort of go through this every single week. And the audacity of Michelle, given how she treated her husband, I don't condone cheating, but at the end of the day, she has no leg to stand on. She has no leg to stand on. So she needs to take several seats, and the producers need to stop annoying us, because this is even worse than I'm a very good person. Anyway, I digress. Hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's your girl Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Married at First Sight, Season 18, Episode 14. I'm so sorry about my late review. I've been busy with work and stuff. As you know, there's 1 week a month that I'm very busy with work, so I'm so sorry. Anyway, so we have Carla and Juan meet up with her spiritual guru, spiritual guide. I sort of get where she's coming from, and I agree with what the guru is saying, in the sense that she's saying to Juan, you need to sort of turn off your logical side or your analytical side and just go with the feelings. And it's like, the problem we have here is Carla has done a couple of things that have really put off Juan, and I don't think any sort of emotion can override what his logic is telling him. The fact that she's, she left her job, not knowing when she was going to get another job, or what she was going to do in order to sort of sustain herself. And also when they had to pick her up or visit her apartment, he had to go to storage space. And that to me says that that put questions in his head. I'm not saying that his apartment is his apartment. He could have used one of his friends' apartment as his apartment to show on Mouse, because there was no need for that friend to be there. But the fact that she has no fixed abode and she's got no job, I think those are the things that are putting Juan off, and no amount of emotion or whatever Carla does will ever sort of turn that for him to see her in a romantic sense. I think she should have had a business plan and sort of a plan of what she was going to do until she gets her next job. And I think he would have found that attractive. I think he's someone who's very industrious, someone who's very sort of a go-getter. And so he wanted someone like that. And sadly, they matched him with someone who is, fly by the seats of your pants and is more with the elements. And because of that, I don't think Juan will ever see her in an attractive sense. I think he'll always see her as someone he has to look after, or someone he has to sort of stress about that what's happening with her now, and I don't see him overcoming that. You have Camille and Thomas, they're making their supper, and they're sort of having conversations about life after the experiment. Camille wants to know, are they going to move in with one another? Are they going to stay in their separate apartments? What's going to happen? And the problem you have is with Thomas really likes Camille. And because he really likes Camille, he is doing everything within his power in order to keep her. And that means he's humoring her. He's sort of giving her sort of a lot of grace to get away with stuff. And so because he's giving her grace, she's misunderstanding that as someone who's not in charge and someone who doesn't take control. This man is in his 40s. He's been doing a lot for himself. He's been doing very well without you. What makes you think he doesn't know how to come up with a plan? What makes you think that he doesn't know what he wants to do with you once the experiment ends? The idea that you keep wanting him to railroad you and sort of tell you what you're going to do, this is how you're going to lose him. Sadly, this is how you're going to lose him, because I personally don't get why Camille keeps going on about, oh, I want him to be in control, I want him to take charge, I want him to do this, that, and the other. And it's like, what are you doing? Are you allowing him the space and the comfort to do that, or are you constantly telling him about your wants, and in the end he just humors you and lets you do whatever it is you want to do? Make that make sense? You have Ikechi and Emem meet up with the experts. I have to give credit to the experts. This season, they've really been there for these couples. This season, they've really been very hands-on and have been at the beck and call of the participants every time they've needed them. So the idea that you have someone like Emem and Ikechi struggling with their marriage and not being able to make it work is shocking for me. I'm going to say that. It's shocking for me because these experts, we normally knock them and say, where are they? They should be supporting the couples. They should be checking in and whatever. But they've really tried their best to be hands-on. They've really tried their best to give these people the tools they need in order to be successful. She asked them, when we last met, you said you were moving in together. You're telling me now that you haven't moved in together. What is happening? Where did we go wrong, or what did we miss? And for Ikechi to say we felt we weren't in the right space. Okay, fine. I didn't agree with them moving in, but still make an effort to date her, still make an effort to spend time with her. It seems he hasn't been doing that. And since the last date that they went to the ice cream parlor, he then decided to go home and never contacted her. And he said, I was trying to sort of unwind and sort of come back to myself. And it's like, this man doesn't know what he wants. This man, instead of doing what other men have done on this show and sort of appreciating the gift that he's been given, he has decided to be a jackass. I'm sorry. He's decided to be a jackass. He's decided to sort of hyper criticize this woman and demoralize her and demean her to an extent that she's a shadow of her former self. She came into the experiment very excited, very ready to be married, and now she's a shell. Instead of doing what other men did, people like Vincent, I'm not saying Vincent didn't have an amazing job. He had a great job, but he was matched with a lady who had a high power job. And instead of saying, oh, she's treating me as less than, he decided that her best qualities far outweighed her negative qualities, and he ran with it. Now they're happily married with 2 children. I don't get what this man doesn't get. He was set up for success by the experts. They matched him with a go-getter, someone who's driven, someone who's got her own career, someone who's got her own life that will not need anything from him, but will actually uplift him to sort of be the best version of himself. And instead of doing that, my guy decided to be a jackass and show himself out on TV and to continue to criticize her. Oh, she when we left, she took us 20 steps back. Every time we make 10 steps forward, we go 20. And it's like, what do you mean? You do not answer any questions. You do not offer anything. All you do is criticize and criticize and criticize. What else do you want this lady to do? What else do you want from this marriage? Make it make sense, because I don't get it. And I'm personally frustrated on behalf of Emem, as though I am Emem. I am frustrated on her behalf because she's been matched with someone who's not ready for marriage. She's been matched with someone who is there to sell his book and not to actually get married to anyone. And so she's now in this place whereby she really wanted to get married. She was looking forward to being set up with someone who really wanted to get married themselves. And so for her to sort of leave this place with a failed relationship, I don't think it's something that she expected. And this is why she's so defeated and she's crying and she's a shadow of herself, because she really wanted to get married. She might have gone against what people in her family told her and decided to marry the stranger. And now she's in a place whereby she married the stranger. The stranger is treating her like nothing. And this is going to be publicized on TV. And the only thing she can do there is sit and smile or stand up and go and cry in the bathroom. I don't get it, and I'm so frustrated on her behalf. I really am disappointed by Ikechi. So let me get this straight. Madison was upset when Alan told her that you look like you're transactional in how you sort of carry yourself. And she felt like he called her a prostitute. So she kicked off and she went and she was in her feelings, and he had to go on this apology tour to make sure that she felt good and everything was okay. And yet she's coming home at 3:35. Make that make sense. How do you come home late 3 days in a row? You still have to go to work. What's happening about her work? I don't get it. So she comes in at 3:35. Alan is sleeping in the lounge. I don't think she expected him to be in the lounge because she was creeping in. She had taken off her shoes, and when she saw him, she just giggled and she went to bed. And the next morning, she's giggly and she's pretending like nothing happened. And it's like, please make it make sense. Make it make sense. I don't get it. They meet up with Dr. Pia. And Alan is sort of saying he feels some type of way because His wife at times, comes home late 3 days a week, and she's coming home after 1 o'clock in the morning, and he's worried about her. So he's having nightmares, that someone has taken her from him or something has happened to her. And she says, well, he told me he had nightmares, but he didn't tell me what the nightmares were about. And it's like, Madison, make it make sense. You say when you're upset, you need to vent with your friends because you can't look at your husband. Fine, that's understandable. But then you staying out until 1 o'clock in the morning. What happens when the two of you have a family? If you say yes or on decision day, and you have children, what are you going to be leaving him with the children in the house until 3 o'clock in the morning? I think Madison is doing something when she goes out, and this is why she's coming home late. I think she's guilty. She might be seeing someone. Maybe she was seeing David. Only she knows what she was doing. Dr. Pia then tries to get them to sort of reach an understanding whereby if they have a problem as a couple, they need to sort of try and sort of deal with it as a couple, which makes sense. It's one thing to go take 30 minutes and just reflect on it, or say, give me a day, I want to reflect on it, and then come back as a couple and work on it. But it's another thing for you to be going out with your friends 3 days in a row. And Mouse producers are shady because they showed video footage of her coming home after 1:30 twice, and then about 3:35 when she came in, and it's like, this is bad, this is terrible. And hopefully Madison, I don't think Madison liked her husband, and I think she was just humoring him because she didn't want to pay the fine, and she found somebody else in the experiment or outside the experiment, and that's who she's been spending her time with. Because you can't tell me she's spending all that time with her friends. Make that make sense? You have Emem meet up with Michelle, and it's like, since when have they been friends? I didn't know they were that close a friend. So Emem and Michelle meet up, and Michelle is still going on about this. Oh, he lied to me, and it's like, girl, you don't like this man. Don't make a big deal out of nothing. You don't like this man. You never liked this man from the day you got married to him. Your expectation of a mixed race guy is not what you were delivered. And so because you were delivered someone that didn't meet that expectation, you've been looking for problems with him and been nitpicking him until you found a problem. So for her to tell oh, I think he's texting Madison, and it's like, whether he's texting Madison, whether he's texting Dr. Pia, it's none of your business, because you've treated him terribly up until this text message. So the idea that you want to use this text message as a weapon to sort of bash this man over the head doesn't make sense. If she had been nice to him, if she had been a loving and caring wife, let's say if she had been maybe 50% of what Emem has been to Ikechi, then I would understand it. I would empathize with her. But she hasn't. She's been horrible to this man from the day she married him up until now. So I don't have any empathy. Emem reveals that, with Ikechi, they went for, a video game after he had said he didn't want anything to do with her, and so she's just going with the flow. Wherever he takes them, that's where she's going. She's not going to overthink it. And it's like, I was a bit side-eyeing it, because when they finished their meeting with Dr. Pia, she actually held onto his arm and they walked into an arcade. And it's like, I thought the two of you said you didn't want anything to do with each other, so why are we holding hands and walking into an arcade like nothing happened? If we're not, going to be a couple, let us show that we're not going to be a couple. Let us stop wasting each other's time and the viewer's time sort of watching a train wreck. I don't get it. Michelle then reveals that she had a conversation with David, and he said he's coming home early so that they can sort of discuss what went wrong, or he can tell her the truth about the text message. And I feel like he only agreed to this because his cousin cornered him and told him he needed to own up to what he had done, because she had now become involved. And out of love for his cousin, this is why he's met up with her. They meet up, they start to have a conversation. He says he's been texting a girl called Tiffany, and that this is the one he was meant to send the text message to. It wasn't his cousin, and he's owning up to it. And so for her to say, oh, you're just saying that, how do I believe you? How do I know whether you're telling the truth? It's up to you, buddy. Believe it, don't believe it, it is what it is. Make up your minds. Do you want to stay in this marriage, or do you want to pack it up and go? Because at the end of the day, you don't want this man, so don't continue to make excuses for why you feel that way. I get where he's coming from, that he had been through a lot of rejection and he was tired of being rejected. I think part of him did it for the attention. I think part of him did it because he had married someone he really liked and thought that they could make it work, and that when that person rejected him, he went for the next person who he knew would accept him. It's not saying that he's justified. No, he's not. He should have focused on his relationship. I do not condone cheating. Because you're wasting time. Who has that much energy to be dealing with too many emotions? You've got your wife's emotions. You've got whoever's emotions. No. So he is wrong for doing that, but she is also wrong. And so for her to now suddenly want to say you're changing your storyline, it's like, what storyline are we changing? Why are we worried about the storyline? Why are we worried? Is that why you are behaving the way you're behaving? Because you've realized that your storyline is terrible given how you've treated this man from day one. Make that make sense? She storms out. He stormed out first. She goes to the bedroom. She had already packed all her stuff and storms out. And he's saying he's going to exercise, he's going to the gym. So the producers followed him and asked him, is there anything else we need to know? And he says, no, there's nothing to know. I've been texting a girl called Tiffany, and this is where we are. She storms past him. She doesn't even say anything, head held high, and she's walking out. And it's like, this woman doesn't realize how bad she's coming across. Nothing she says or does can ever, ever, ever justify the way she's behaving. Nothing. Because at the end of the day, she's been disrespectful. She's been very judgmental. And this man has just showed his ass by behaving like men will do when they don't get the attention that they want. And now suddenly it's me, why did he do this to me? Why is he betraying me? He's not betraying you because you never loved him. He's just showing you who he is when he's in time of crisis. So the two of you have to keep it stepping and stop annoying us. So you have my faves, Camille and Thomas. They meet up with Pastor Carl. Camille and Thomas are that very intelligent people in class who only needs to be told something once and they've caught up and they're looking around and wondering why is everybody else struggling. That's the way they are, because at the end of the day they are now talking about life after the experiment, whereas other people are just barely surviving the experiment itself. So Pastor Carl is sort of asking them, what is your goal or what is your plan once you finish? Because both of you live in very tiny apartments and your leases are still ongoing. And Thomas says his lease runs out first before Camille's list runs out. And so he's sort of talking about the fact that, they will be moving from both apartments, from, living in Camille's apartment and then living in Thomas's apartment and sort of alternating. And Pastor Carl is like, you can't do that. You can't be like divorced parents who are swapping a child and saying, okay, this is your week, that's my week. It makes sense. I think if they can both sublet their apartments, they should both sublet their apartments and then look for an apartment whereby they just move into after the experiment. That would make more sense to me. That way they just make a smooth transition whereby you don't go back to whatever was normal for you and you just continue from where you are. Camille is saying she wants Thomas to sort of come up with a plan and make the decisions on what happens next. And I think for Thomas, he wants to make sure that they both say yes on decision day before he makes any decisions about what's going to happen next. And so I really love this for them. I really hope they continue to put in the work. Juan meets up with his friend and he's talking about his marriage and how he thinks things are going at the moment, because I think their biggest hurdle is the romantic connection. He talks about tantric yoga and his friend seems to understand this sort of lifestyle of, being a spiritualist, someone who believes in nature, someone who just believes by fly the seat of your pants. And this is not something that Juan is used to. And so that's why he's struggling. I love the fact that he has someone who's able to actually be truthful with him. I don't know whether Juan sees a life with Carla, even though Carla is trying to make it work. I think Carla sadly was too late coming to the table, that by the time she came to the table and showed that she was really committed to it, Juan had already moved on and had already made decisions about his, life after the experiment. And so I don't see him, as I said before, making a U-turn and coming back and saying, okay, let's make this marriage work. You have Madison and Alan, they go shopping, and I actually liked what Madison did for Alan as compared for what that other woman did for David, because this was actually a stylist. It wasn't a friend. It was actually a stylist. And I could actually see the difference in his appearance from outfit to outfit to outfit. I think I loved his first look and I loved his last look. I didn't like the little blazer thing. I didn't think that was cute, but he is willing to make the changes because Alan, for all intents and purposes, has come into this wanting this marriage to work. And so is doing everything within his power to make sure he makes the changes that will make his wife feel attracted to him. And so her being excited about his dressing was good for him because it boosted his ego. But at the same time, you don't want to change him so much that he doesn't recognize himself. This is what I said before, that if you're married to someone and if it's their clothing you don't like, you can easily get them to sort of transition or just tweak it a little bit so that it accommodates the two of you. Even his hair, they could easily do that. She also managed to sort of talk to him about his teeth, and so he's got this I think it's what do you call it, the braces whereby you put it in and you take it out. And of all the changes that Madison has made for this man, if she doesn't keep him, someone else is going to find him appealing. Alan is very highly intelligent. He's very emotionally intelligent. He's got an amazing job. He seems to have his own finances in order. So any woman would be lucky to have him. I personally wish Emem had been matched with Alan. That's just my impression. I wish Emem and Alan had been matched together. I don't know whether she didn't want to marry outside her race, but I think they would have made an amazing couple. You have Camille and Thomas, they go out for a meal. They're still talking about this thing whereby what do we do after the experiment. I feel like it's the producers dragging it because there's nothing else to sort of drag out. I think Camille and Thomas, as soon as Camille spoke to her family and friends and they realized how amazing Thomas was and them spending time with Thomas's brother and his wife and family, I think they told Camille, you need to shut down that he doesn't have swagger. So in shutting down that he doesn't have swagger, the producers needed something else. And I think this moving apartments and whatever is now the thing that the producers are now holding on to as the drama that they can focus on, so that viewers are sort of confused as to whether or not they'll say yes on decision day. But I definitely see them saying yes on decision day. I love them as a couple and I'm so happy for them. You have all the couples, they're getting ready. Well, there's now only 3 couples left in the experiment per se that are still trying to make a go at it. You have Juan and Carla, you have Camille and Thomas, and you have Alan and Madison, even though Madison is not really doing much to show she's interested. So everybody's getting ready to go to the couples retreat and everybody's nervous because couples retreats on MAVs have always come with a lot of headache. They've always come with a lot of drama. So everybody's nervous about what's going to happen. David says he's decided to turn up. He hasn't told anyone he's turning up, but he's going to turn up for the couples retreat. You have Emem go and pick up Michelle, and it's like, since when have they become friends? I wouldn't want Michelle to be friends with Emem. Emem deserves better. I think she's better off even with people like Carla and with Camille. So everybody arrives at the retreat. When I saw it, it looked like a school. I don't want to lie. On the outside, the house looked ugly. But when you actually walk in, that's when you see that actually it's amazing. So first off, you had Alan and Madison be the first ones to arrive. They were followed by Michelle and Emem. And Michelle... anyone with ears to hear has to hear that she's aggrieved. Anyone with ears to hear has to hear that she's aggrieved. She's aggrieved that her husband lied to her. She's aggrieved that, he cheated on her. And it's like, seriously, you were never into this man. So why are we making it seem like this man was really into you? And she says she's looking forward to seeing him. She hopes he comes. She can't wait. And so the next person to arrive is David. And as soon as he arrives, you can see the tension starts because they all sit down and Emem is uncomfortable. In my opinion, I would be uncomfortable because Emem knows that Michelle is suspecting that Madison is the other woman in this relationship. And so at one point, you heard Madison shout out to Alan, who had gone to the kitchen, and say, can you bring a knife to cut the tension? Because it was that awkward. You then have Juan and Carla arrive. There was no fights for beds, which was good. So Alan prepared the meal for everyone, and then everyone sat down to eat. Well, just before they sat down, you had Camille and Thomas arrive, and apparently they had taken a detour, so that's why they were running a bit late. So they all sat down at the dinner table. And we're just having conversations about their relationships and where they stand and what's going on. So Camille and Thomas obviously are in the best place. So they are quick to sort of get their stuff out of the way so that the tension can arise. You have, Mr. Finally come in, Ikechi. Ikechi is he's so ignorant and it's so sad. that he's that ignorant, given the fact that he's a teacher. Juan is right. He is a teacher. He should be aware of how he's coming across, and he should be maybe more careful of how he speaks to his wife, how he treats his wife. So he doesn't even sit down. He's asked, can I make you a taco? And he went, I'm allergic to shellfish. So he stands by the door behind the cameras, and then he asks his wife to come across for a conversation. When she comes across, he says to her, well, I just want to let you know that, I'm done. I don't want any more of this. So I've brought a divorce. I want you to sign. This is the divorce paper. And it's only one sheet. I feel like this is where I'm coming from. Okay, I'm going to say this. I don't know that I'm the only one thinking this. I feel like the producers told Ikechi that he either presented himself for the couples retreat or he'd pay a fine. And so because he didn't want to pay the fine, he came to make a statement and he brought one piece of paper and told her, I want you to sign. That's not how Mouse does it. We've never seen anyone be presented with divorce papers. So the audacity for him to present divorce papers doesn't make any sense. He could have easily stayed at home and said he was sick, and they wouldn't have pushed him to come. He didn't need to grandstand and make that, presence. Oh, I want you to sign this page. And Emem was right to say, I'm not going to sign this. Where are the rest of the pages? This is 104. Besides, there's no dotted line for me to sign. So where am I signing? Am I just doing this for formality so that you can say, I gave her divorce papers and I walked out because I was fed up, or what? What is it? And he looked like an idiot. And it's like, how are you teaching people when you can't read? When you can't count 1, 2, 3, 4? Who are you teaching and what are you teaching them? Make it make sense. So he then storms off because his whatever, his enactment or whatever scenario he had created in his head didn't work out. And he says, I'm done. When I leave here, I'm going to sleep well at night. And he said, and it's like, you can sleep well at night. You're an ignorant, fool, for lack of a better word. So it is what it is. She doesn't need to worry about you. She can go about with her life and sort of continue to move on and still be successful. So Emem told everyone that this is what he did. He came with divorce papers. He wanted to serve me divorce papers, and this is why he's here. So he's brought me the divorce paper. And it's like, seriously, we're not ignorant. This is season 18 of Married at First Sight. We know that Mouse has them sign prenups before they get married, and Mouse will handle the divorce when a couple say no on decision day. So the audacity for him to think he can come in and pretend as though he's Mr. Know-it-all and he knows everything and is going to serve her divorce papers and is going to do what it takes to emancipate himself from her. It's like, please take several seats. We're not here for it and we're not buying it. I don't get it, and I don't know why they continue to entertain his nonsense. You have then Michelle say, oh, next up is David. I think David is the next person to talk because Emem was like, I'm done talking about myself. Let's move on. So David owns up that, I had problems in my marriage, and because things weren't going great, I stepped out on my marriage. I sort of tried communicating with somebody else. I sent an inappropriate text message that I was sending to somebody else, to my wife, by mistake, and this is where we are. And so for her, she's now saying, oh, he needs to tell me who it is. He's lying. I don't believe what he's saying. Whether you believe him or you don't, it's not a problem. He's apologized. Keep it stepping. You never loved this man. I feel like it's the embarrassment of knowing that she thought she was playing him, only to find out that he wasn't really eating up whatever she was serving. And that's the reason why she's behaving the way she's behaving. For Madison to storm out doesn't make sense unless she felt guilty or unless she was upset because she knew more than what Michelle knows. And maybe David has been telling her about every problem that he's been having with her. And so she's more in the loop than Michelle knows. And so this is why she walked out, because she didn't want to say anything, because otherwise it doesn't make sense why she walked out. It really doesn't make sense. And so apparently it seems next week Michelle is going to be going on this. She's finally found something to hold on to, and I pity whoever ends up with her, because nobody wants to be dragged about the same thing 200 times. I'm sorry, nobody wants to do that. So I hope they both opt for a divorce. We don't need to see them anymore. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 13. Bye guys.